Launching your online course soon? Watch this video first to learn the 5 mistakes I did when I launched my first online course and how you can avoid them. Psst, the last one could have made me a lot more sales, but we missed it. Now you don't have to, so stick to the end to know what it is and make sure you do it on your launch. Let's get right into it. My first online course launch made $120,000, and while it's amazing and quite a great achievement for someone who's new to the online course industry at a time, there were a couple of things that we missed and did wrong, which resulted to not maximizing the sales we could have potentially made. I'm sharing with you some of them so you'll know how it affected my launch and how you can avoid making the same mistake for your launch so you can make it a more successful one. The first mistake I did when I launched my first online course was hiring a project manager late in the game. I was a solopreneur, but during the official course launch, I hired 2 contractors, a Facebook ad specialist and a project manager. However, I hired the project manager way too late.
You're late.
I got her 2 weeks prior to the launch while my FB specialist has been with me for months. I hired a project manager because I was overwhelmed by the amount of work that needs to be done, and I want to make sure that I'm doing things right and getting everything I needed for the launch. And while I got her too late, she still did everything she could to help me. My only regret was I wish I hired her sooner so she can see through the things I missed early on. She might have helped me unload all the work that I didn't have to do, like scheduling emails, making sure all the sales emails are loaded and scheduled, the grammar, checking and ensuring that links are working, and so many other tasks that kept me away from the more important things that needs my attention.
That's an attention getter.
I was amazed by the amount of work I didn't know I need to do until we worked together. How can you avoid this mistake? An online course launch is a lot of work, and I highly recommend you hire a project manager to help you get through the launch and hire someone early, at the very least during your pre-launch stage. But if you can afford to get one earlier, do it.
You're hired.
Now, if you're on a budget and can't afford to hire someone to help you yet, you can still do it alone. It's just going to need more time, so allow a little bit more time to prepare and polish all the things you needed for your launch. For example, a typical course launch for most course creators who have a team is about 6 to 12 weeks. Some have even longer runway. You might want to add a few more weeks to ensure everything goes smoothly during your launch. Although frankly, there's no perfect launch. Every launch will have issues and mistakes. Every launch is a work in progress. We're just making an effort to avoid bigger mistakes that could potentially cost us a lot more if we ignore them. So avoid being too perfect because it'll only make your launch and process even more difficult. The next mistake I did when I launched my first online course is lack of webinar practice and schedule. It was my first course launch, and while I can be excused for not having the experience and the knowledge that launches work better with multiple webinar schedules, it was still my responsibility to know it. I sold a couple $1,000s during my webinar for the course launch, but if I did a few more schedules, the launch might have done even better. Because inside the webinar, I can address people's questions as well as their objections better than a sales page can do. So by not having enough schedule, I have missed the opportunity to reach out to people from other time zones who are not available during the only schedule I set for the launch. To make it worse, I did not even practice for the webinar because I thought I'm just reading from the slides and everything's going to be okay. So when I was actually doing it, and despite having a script, it felt as if I didn't know what I was doing, and I know it probably turned off a lot of people too. So if you're launching and you're planning on having a webinar as part of your launch strategy, this is how you can avoid the mistake I did. 1. Practice the webinar. Even if you have a script, you can relay things a lot better if you have read it over and over and know exactly where to pause, what words to give emphasis to, and what expressions you can actually do when you're live on a call with people. 2. Focus on the teachable more than the fillers. During this launch, I was taught that I don't need to teach for an entire hour during the webinar. I need to have filler slides to get people to know me and my accomplishments, etc. And while it's all good, I have this belief that teaching in my webinar instead of telling people about me and what I have accomplished is way better because the old format is, well, quite boring and self-centered. So change the way you do your webinars. Make it about serving the people you want to serve, and you'll see way better conversions on your launch. 3. Have multiple webinar schedules for different time zones. This is especially if you're having a global online course launch. Everyone has their schedules and would probably want to join, so giving them an option allows them to be in the webinar instead of wondering how it went or what you taught. You can always convert people a lot better when they see how you teach live because it gives them the first-hand experience of your skills and expertise. The next mistake I did when I launched my first online course was not having a clear set of responsibilities and accountabilities. I was impressed by how Facebook ads really helped us grow our list, so I want to use ads for my official launch too. The only problem was, during the actual launch, I cannot get a hold of my ad specialist. Our ads are getting rejected, which I was initially told was already approved. And during the crucial moments when I need someone more knowledgeable in that area to look into it, there was no one to help. It was really disappointing to say the least. I wasted money on Facebook ads during the launch, and honestly, I threw that moment into the abyss and I cannot remember how much we actually spent. But it was partly my mistake. I'm a people person. I didn't like telling people that they're not doing their job or they need to do better. I don't like that part. And because of that, I may have established the fact that accountability doesn't matter to me. So if you're hiring people for your launch, here's how to avoid this mistake and avoid losing sales in the process. Be sure to have a list of responsibilities and hold them accountable for their actions or the lack of it. They need to know that their roles are important for your business and you need to make it clear with them. Otherwise, you're going to lose sales because of someone else's lack of responsibility. The next mistake I did on my first online course launch was not having a follow-up strategy. Because I tried to do everything on my own in the beginning, I missed this important part and lost sales in the process. When people attempt to buy your offer but doesn't complete the transaction, you can still send a different set of sales emails to them to get them to buy your offer. These are also called abandoned cart emails, and often these emails can still convert more than 10% of those who did not complete their purchase. We also missed sending follow-through emails for those who clicked the link, read the sales page, but did not take action. There was a lot of traffic to the sales page, and we probably would have converted some of those traffic to sales if we have a follow-up strategy in place. However, this part involves a lot of back-end work, so I was not able to do it, and my project manager can no longer help me prepare for it because we're already in the launch phase and it will only make things worse. So we ended up not having abandoned cart emails and follow-through emails for those who have clicked the link but did not end up buying. Here's how you can avoid this mistake if you want to add this strategy to your launch. 1. Have an abandoned cart sequence. This is a series of emails that you send to the people who attempted to purchase your offer but did not end up buying. Often, people need just a little bit push into the right direction so they'll make the decision to buy. These emails are meant to address the objections they felt during the checkout process and help them come up with a decision. 2. Have a follow-up email sequence. This is a series of emails that's almost similar to the abandoned cart emails but with different wording. Because they only read the sales page and did not take actions, their objections might be different than those who attempted to buy. So if you wind up wanting to add this strategy to your launch, it can definitely help improve your sales. But of course, if you're a one-person team and you want to include this strategy, know that you will need to prepare different emails to get this done. And it will take a lot of work and, of course, time. So in my opinion, even though we lost a lot of sales not having this in our launch strategy, not having the additional headache was well worth it. The next mistake I did during my first course launch was not offering an upsell. This was definitely a lot easier than the follow-up strategy, but I missed this crucial step because I was so exhausted from doing everything on my own. Upsells typically don't require a lot of work, but can definitely help generate more revenue to your launch. If it's your first time launching and potentially first time hearing the word upsell, it's a product or service you offer right after your clients have made a purchase. Often, people will offer an upsell, which is a product or service that's priced higher than the first one they purchased. Or they will offer a downsell, which is a product or service that's priced lower than the one they purchased. This strategy is great in terms of bringing additional sales during your launches and other sales strategies. And despite missing it in my own launch, I made sure my clients know this strategy so they can use it in their launches. One of my clients actually decided to use it in their launch and made an additional $70,000 in sales. How cool is that? They would have missed on that much money if they did not offer an upsell. That's how powerful it is. So here's how you can avoid this mistake. If you want to generate more revenue from your launch, definitely try having an upsell or a downsell or both in your launch strategy. You can offer an online course, a coaching program, a mini course, or other products that you already have in your own shop. And if you want to know how I still managed to have a $120,000 course launch despite making all these mistakes and missing out on things, stay tuned for the video coming right after this one. That's where I'll talk about the 7 steps I did that made my first course launch a 6-figure success. I'll see you there.